In 1 Corinthians 13, there is a description of what love is. The Apostle Paul writing and describes love, and we cover that on Wednesday's session. So we're going to look in Galatians and see another place where love is described. And we may think of this as something different because it's actually what we think of as the fruit of the Spirit. And this is in Galatians 5. In Galatians 5, the Apostle Paul says what the works of the flesh are. And that you'll find in Galatians 5, and starting in verse 19, the works of the flesh are evident. Things like adultery or sexual perversion, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry. It goes through all these things. These are the things that are destructive, the things that lead to death, that create death. They are shaped, and we could go through them, but that's not the point. The point is when he gets to verse 22, and he has this is compared or contradicting, this is juxtaposed against the works of the flesh, he says, but the fruit of the Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit. So those were the works of the flesh that he describes, 19 through 21. And 22 says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love. Now something that I want to point out here is how in the Greek from which this is translated, the punctuation, they didn't have punctuation like we do. And so usually we think, okay, the fruit of the Spirit, it's love, it's joy, it's peace. But I want you to imagine, what if the fruit of the Spirit is just love? And so there's like this colon, the two little dots, one above the other, which means, following the word love, which means the rest are just an explanation, a description of what love is. Let's look at it that way and see if it makes sense. He says the fruit of the Spirit is love, which is contrary. It is different to all the things that he said are the works of the flesh. And then he describes it as he goes on. There is joy in love. There is peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And against such, there is no law. And I like us to think that the fruit is love, and love brings forth and is composed of all these things. You say joy, well, what does that have to do with it? Because we find great joy actually in life, which love and life go together. Love is what brings true lasting joy. It's not just about happiness, it's about joy. It's something that transcends circumstances because it's rooted in something greater. And the Apostle Paul is showing us here that this is the fruit of the Spirit is love, something that endures and exceeds this moment in time. This is something that's greater than any fleeting pleasure, anything that the flesh can pursue and produce. And so joy is definitely part of it, as is all the rest. Peace, joy and peace. We can read in Romans that peace and joy in the Holy Spirit, this is what the kingdom is. These are products of love. These are characteristics of love. Peace is an abiding and a calmness. There is something in the peace about oneness and unity with God, because that's the nature of it. This is what the Spirit is and what it produces. Long suffering, which speaks to patience. It speaks to the never quitting, never stopping, never fails, which Paul describes in 1 Corinthians 13. Kindness, because love is kind. It's kindness, it's concern, and it's care for others. It's goodness. It treats others with respect, esteeming others better than self. It's faithful. Faithful. That's a description of what it is. It's gentle. And it is what brings about self-control. So many things in the works of the flesh lack self-control. They're not good. They're not kind. They're not patient. They're not rooted in joy and peace. But love is. And he says, against such there is no law. There is nothing that says, these are not okay, these are not good. This is the fruit of the Spirit, which is love. That's exposed, it's described, it's revealed, manifested in all these different aspects. And he says in verse 24, and those who are Christ's, that's you, have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. And that crucifixion is you are dead to all the works of the flesh, to sin. and your fruit in the Spirit is love.